Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Zenchess chess stream, the best chess stream in the world, in the galaxy, in the known universe. I'm gonna get started here. I'm gonna play a rapid game. Go 15-10. Get that started. Get a little bit of coffee, smoking a little. Just having a good time. Right back. I'm gonna smoke a little bit. Alright, so we got our first game. Looks like a Caracan. Of course, I played the advanced variation. Always looking for the opening advantage. So knight f3, bishop e2, castle. Those are usually going to be my first moves here. The question is he going to play h6? c3. Castle if he takes. I'm going to take with a knight. Puts in a bit more pressure on than just recapturing with the pawn, as the bishop is under attack and the knight is under attack. And losing this pawn doesn't really matter because I can capture on f5, check, and take this pawn. So if he were to capture, I can play knight takes, pawn takes, bishop b5 check. He has to play knight d7, I think, and queen takes d5. If he takes on d4, then I take back with a pawn. And there's usually some problems because he hasn't developed yet. Some problems with queen a4 or bishop b5 check. So I did play a tournament game once from a similar position, except he had played h6. So it's a little bit different. Knight e7, he's allowing me to capture the bishop, which is probably good. I can just win the bishop pair right now. Although capturing this bishop develops his knight. But if I don't take it now, then he can play bishop g6. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. He's attacking my e5 pawn. So the most obvious move would be f4 or bishop f4. Bishop f4 might be a little more shaky. Although I don't see a way of him attacking the pawn again. f4 is more solid, but after f4, he might get some queen b6 action, maybe knight e3 afterwards. So I'm hesitant to play f4. Let's look at this. If I play f4, queen b6 check, king h1, knight e3, gonna have to take that. Bishop takes, queen takes. Everything's defended, although I did lose a bishop pair. It might not be so bad. This knight will be gone, so I can play f5. So I'm thinking f4, queen b6, king h1, knight e3, bishop takes, queen takes. And then maybe even f5 right away. He takes on e5, pawn takes, pawn takes. I don't know if I have some bishop h5 check. Followed by rook e1. Also his queen would be under attack here. I'm gonna go ahead and go for that. You know, thinking back on it, if I play bishop f4, queen c7 attacking the pawn, maybe I can get away with that, but I'm not really sure. I think f4 is working okay. Jack me, king h1. Let's see if he's gonna play knight e3. So he played bishop c5. Could play b4, but he'll just play bishop e3. if I play knight d2, then he has knight e3. Let's take stock of this position. I have more space on the center and king side. He has more space on d5 than c3. I have the bishop pair. There's a very good chance he'll play knight e3 at some point. I could get out of that. He didn't play knight e3, so maybe I can improve my position and not allow it. I could play queen d3, for instance, developing the queen to d3. Then if he plays knight e3, I can just play like rook f3, attacking the knight. So I'm looking at queen d3. So maybe if he castles kingside, then I can play g4 and go f5, but the fact that he gets knight takes e5 with tempo doesn't look good. Certainly I could play bishop g4 to try to kick out his knight. But I think what I really need to do is develop, so maybe... It'd be nice if I could play b4 and he doesn't have bishop e3, so I could maybe start with rook f3. And if he plays bishop e3, I take. And I win a piece, so I could play rook f3. Then maybe play b4, and then I can safely develop my knight. I can go to b3, I guess. Heading to d4. Not sure if he's going to castle or not. I'd say him castling queenside looks a little risky. If I can play b4, b5 or something like that. So he is ahead in development. So I have to rely on my bishop pair and kingside space. He played bishop e3. I don't really want to take because then queen e3 and feels like he's getting too much out of that if I were to capture knight e3 as knight c2. Knight d2 might be interesting because I kind of just block this diagonal. And then I can go to b3 or f3. g4 is forcing. He could win a piece, but he has bishop c1, gf5, bishop e2. Be confident about that. Maybe I can play knight a3 actually. I was thinking knight d2, but maybe knight a3 would be better than I can play knight c2. Kick out his bishop. Maybe you can go to b5. But if knight a3, bishop c1, rook c1, queen b2, not sure I want to get into that. Wow, the stream's really delayed. Delayed by about 10 seconds or so. So h5, maybe he wants to play h4 and knight g3, which would completely checkmate me. So I do have to be careful about this h4 idea. I guess maybe I can start with knight b3. He plays h4. Take this bishop. I don't think I'm losing any material. Not sure I should be afraid of h4, but better be ready to meet it. At f3. h4. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes. There's really no threat. Knight c2 isn't a threat. Work on f1. Can move somewhere. f3, I guess. Play knight f3. Maybe he'll just retreat his bishop. If I play knight b3, though, he can't retreat his bishop because c5 is under control. So I'm gonna go with knight b3. I'm probably losing the bishop pair, but I've lost the bishop pair. I still have a bishop versus knight. So it's gonna be what about after h4? Yeah. I'd have to lose the exchange here. Yes, I could play rook f3 and just sack the rook for a knight and pawn. I think I really have no choice. Won't get full 2-pawn compensation for that, but a little bit. The pawn, if I can pick up another pawn later, could have compensation. Play f5, f1, play g6. I can go f5, pawn takes, e6, pawn takes, queen d6 check. He has like 97. I get anything out of that? f5, pawn takes, rook f1, g6, e6. That kind of undermines these pawns here. Maybe I get something out of that. Look at this f5, pawn takes, f1, e6, e6. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of that. We have a lot of pawns on the king side. It'd be nice if I could play like h4, h5. Probably worse, but not by a whole lot. Just bad play. Play rook d1. Maybe I can play f5 and get the d5 pawn. Fortunately, he's got this pressure on b2. Well, running out of time. Gotta make something happen here. Try infiltrating. Pressure on g6. This idea of bishop d3. Potentially sack, but maybe just time down a little bit. Maybe go into f6 or something. He never leaves b6, and maybe I can play c5. don't think I can sack yet because he has rook g8, but if I get queen g5, maybe queen f6, he has queen d8 some lines. Play f5 now. Bishop takes looks pretty good. See that. Two rooks. 5 pawn's gonna drop. Might as well throw an f6. Do I take or do I let him take? That's the question. Do I play rook e1 and just to passively defend this pawn? Really don't have much to do there. Um, yeah, it's not looking good. I take his rook. Try to make him fight for this pawn, but he has queen f2 as well. All falling apart. Me. I just take this knight. I'm gonna have to take the knight, right? I don't know. Try something tricky. Fortunately, if I take the knight, he has queen f4 check, getting my rook back. It's hard to say, he has to be careful if he plays knight f6. Rook f2, but not sure if that's gonna work. Could have a chance here if this works. I don't think it works though. I'm screwed. Game. Go for another game. Actually, I'm gonna get some coffee real quick. I'll be right back. And we're back. Just give me 1 second here. I'm gonna smoke a little bit. Alright, so my opponent's 2190, I'm 2157. I hate to see a3, because I haven't really studied these wing gambit type positions. I'm gonna go ahead and play knight f6 and see what happens. I don't know if he's gonna play e5, but we'll see what happens. So the question is, how is this different than a c3 Sicilian? He's still playing kind of the same. Knight b6 has got to be the move here. No way in hell that sacrifice works. Yeah, I can kind of transpose into an e6 Sicilian. I'm not even sure he's playing d4, so if I play e6, I think I'm in more familiar territory. If he plays b4, I can take it. Retreat the bishop back to e7. But otherwise, I can play knight c6 and queen c7, attack e5. I'm gonna play knight c6 now, just make it harder to play d4. So if he plays d4 now, after c takes, knight takes, then I can consider knight e5. It looks pretty safe. I don't think he can even play d4, and that's a pretty bad sign. He might have to switch to a c3 Sicilian. Queen c7, this is a free development move. I would imagine he has to play rook e1. The question is how am I going to finish development? Of course, there's bishop e7, but then I have to worry about the c8 bishop. So what I want to do is move this knight somewhere, but I don't know. Maybe back to d5. Maybe I shouldn't have played knight b6. I don't know. Alternatively, maybe I could play g6 and bishop g7. I might actually win this pawn. But it leaves f6 really weak. You might be able to play bishop g5 to f6, something like that. I'm just going to play bishop e7, and then I think my plan here is to route this knight back to d5. Play b5 or b6. I don't think I want to play rook b8, knight a8. That looks kind of ridiculous. So I guess I can castle. Maybe I don't want to play knight back to d5. Maybe I can just play d6. After the capture, I'll have bishop d6. Maybe then I can play knight d7 to f6. d7, b6. Play a6 here to stop knight b5, but you might also have d5. You could just take on e5 first. I think I'm just going to let him win the bishop pair if he wants it. I feel like if he does play knight b5 and knight takes d6, feel like it helps me develop. I don't know. Threatening to take on e5 now. Plays d5. I think I'm okay. I think I can just take, take, take. I can take on e5 after that. How do I get developed? I could play bishop d7. Knight d7, maybe? Knight d7 will force bishop f4. Play knight c5. Knight d3, I guess. Seems to work. 7 bishop f4. The other moves, but knight d7 bishop f4 looks okay. At least now I've cleared my b pawn so I can fianchetto my bishop. Play b6. Only thing I'm even really worried about would be like 94. 94 and a potential sack on f6 or bishop e1, sack on h7, but not too worried about it. Take a knight that comes to g5. Yeah, I'm assuming he has to play bishop f4 here. Then I'll play b6. Not really worried about knight b5 into d6. I don't think I'm worried about that. So play b6, bishop b7. Have a good fianchetto here. c5 in the future. Another good plan would be like b6, a5, bishop a6, knight c5, knight d3. Consider playing a5 after b6. He does play bishop b1. I always have knight f8 to defend. h7. Knight f8, no mate. I don't feel like I'm winning or anything, but I feel pretty comfortable in this position. Unless he figures out some crazy way to like sack. I don't know what he can do, but about knight f6 check, but he can't really do it right now. Maybe I would be worried if he played knight e4 and like b4, bishop b2, and then played knight f6. I don't h4. I guess he wants to play h5, h6. I can always play h6 at the end after h5. Play bishop f8 to defend that. Alternatively, I could let him push to h6 and play g6, but that doesn't look too good. He gets bishop g5. So I think I'll play h6 if I have to. Go ahead and start fianchettoing. He is kind of opening up his king a bit, so hopefully I can take advantage of that. I can play bishop f8 or knight f8 if I need to. Looks like he's gonna go for the bishop b1 checkmate. Of course, I have knight f8, so I don't see that happening. Then he's gonna have to move his queen. Guess I have knight takes e5 as a discovery. But I think this move maybe not good. I guess he could switch to g4, but does that. I'll have to play king h8, I guess. Knight f8, no mate. I have to play king h8 here, but I don't see him breaking through. Plays knight e4. I don't see it. Might have knight a5, threatening knight b3. Up the diagonal. I could also try knight a5, queen c4, try to go for a queen trade. We feel pretty confident in an endgame here because my pieces are pretty well placed. This e5 pawn is a potential weakness. Go ahead and play knight a5. Not sure if I want to play knight b3. I'll have to play rook a2, which is awkward. The question is, does my knight maintain his position there? Plays knight f6. I don't have to take it. Then he could sack. I need to take this knight. At knight b3. Bishop takes rook. Knight takes rook. Bishop retreats. Thinking just rook c8 and then hide. If he plays rook c1, hide on d7. I can go to b5 or to e8. He does have the bishop pair now, though. So I'd say I don't know if I don't think I'm better. I think he has the bishop pair, but potentially in the end game the c5 pawn will be weak. Now he's doing a rook lift. No. Play knight c4. Not sure you can get away with that. Knight c4, rook c3. Move my queen. d7. Threatening b2. Try this. h4. Not sure what he's doing. Knight g6. g6 isn't playable. Knight 5 doesn't look playable. He's ignored b2. I can take on b2 now. Or I could play queen d4, attacking his bishop. Follow with bishop c5 maybe. Threaten f2. Also pinning his f4 bishop. So maybe I can play bishop g5, I don't know. I really like queen d4 here. If he retreats his bishop, if he plays bishop c2, I still have knight b2, but maybe I can play bishop g5. I totally missed that mate thread, so this could be a problem. This could be a massive problem. I didn't realize that that was available. Played at h4, that's what he was trying to go for. So now I'm in total desperation mode because I can't play g5, I guess. Play g5 and pray that if I take this bishop, I'll survive. So g5 and passant. Problem is he's going to have g7 with check. That's going to be crushing. Try holding on if I play bishop f6, but I'm just going to drop a piece. I'll get mated though. Really don't see what other choice I have. Gotta defend the mate. Maybe there's a chance that I get some compensation. I have one pawn now. Maybe I'll get this b pawn. Maybe rook d4. Play e5, but it doesn't look very good because he can get a knight f5. Let's go ahead and play rook d4. This is probably pretty bad time management, but I'm losing anyways. Just don't think I really have a threat if I play e5. Yes, move that bishop, but I don't necessarily make any progress, so well, I just don't see anything here. I think it's gonna get real ugly real fast. Expect that. Roll with it. See where this goes. Got an extra protector of e5. That's kind of a good sign. So yeah, maybe rook f5 will save me. Probably not, but rook f5 is about all I got going for me. I don't know what I can do with this knight. I really don't want to just take on b2. The knight's going to be stranded. I guess I can go into d3 afterwards, but the problem is, if he plays bishop e5, I'm getting mated, so I can't give up control of e5. I just have to find like a pawn here or there if I'm going to get any compensation. Maybe I can just take with a queen, I don't know. If I can play rook f5 and his bishop has to move. If his bishop moves off this diagonal, like back, at least he won't have bishop e5. I think he had b3 earlier, though. He could have forced my knight to move back, take on a3, and then play bishop e5. Five, get that tempo in. So right now he can't play bishop e5. If he has to go back, then at least he won't be able to play it. Not sure if knight d6, getting another tempo on this bishop. Not sure if that helps. I'd like to play knight d6, but I really don't have a follow-up. What's the same what? What was that? Oh, oh, I didn't expect that. Still down 2 points. Possible I can draw this game, especially if he gets low on time. They have rook d3. He has rook e3. I'll just try to be as annoying as possible. If he plays rook e3, I'll get knight f4 check, but I don't know if it does anything. If it's rook e3 though, I guess I can play rook c1, bishop a6. Well, I managed to pick up a pawn. That's going to improve my chances. What should I do here? Should I play rook a5? Rook a4? Wants to play bishop h7, then I better play g6. He's getting low on time, so I'm just trying to stay as annoying as possible. I'm gonna get off this pin. Get out of this pin. Maybe I can develop my knight. Maybe I can play f6. I might get this rook a5 tempo, knight f3, rook c5, bishop d3. Guess that's not so good. Trying for bishop e8, I guess. f6 just feels wrong to me, just opening up this second rank here. Uh, I don't see anything better than f6. Now what does he want to play? He wants to play d6. Go ahead and play knight h7. Maybe I can get this knight developed. Maybe I'll play f5. Knight f6. Plays rook e8. I guess I have e5. I guess he wants to play knight f7, king h5, and then have a discovery. Play knight g5, but he'll trade knights. Now I'm starting to get active. If I play knight f4, might start generating some threats. Might be some back rank threats there. I guess he can always go to h2, but then I have rook h3. So he has to be a little bit careful, and that's what I want. I want to annoy him as much as possible. If he plays knight f7, I have king h5. Uh, king takes h4. Ideally, blunder's made here, knight f4, king f1, something like that. Knight f7, king h5, bishop f3. I think I'm okay there. King h4. Yeah, I can play f5 and then play rook h3 and take this pawn. Slip out to g5. Yes, knight g5, that would stop that, so maybe I need to check first. Hoping I can get some 92 rook takes c4 nonsense. Yeah, I can play that. Yeah, I'll pull the trigger on this. I'm gonna take on c4. And hopefully I don't end up down a piece. I think I'd take black here. I have a lot of pawns, and I can never lose this, even if I lose all my pawns. If I can just trade one pawn off, I never lose this. King f4 looks active. I can play g5. I should have played rook b4. If he goes after this pawn, yeah, if he does that, push him back. He's taking the pressure off f5. Question is, what am I gonna do? E3? I could just check him again, take a draw. Although I'm not sure I'm winning that battle. You can play king e2. Um, let's see, g4. He's gonna take on b5. I'm just gonna play for a draw here. If he trades rooks, it should be an easy draw. I can just trade off the last pawn. Might even have some winning chances. I do have two connected passers, but I don't think I can technically win this. But if he makes some mistakes, I think I could get those passers through potentially. No draw. Basically, push for a win for free. Even if I lose all my pawns, I can still draw the game. So, incentive for. Might have been dumb by me. Um, yeah, now I'm playing for a draw. Good game. Yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes, and I'll turn on the Zenchess TV.
been a lot of traveling, a lot of things to do, but it feels really good.
That was an important question, obviously, but maybe a slightly more challenging question coming up. Obviously, the genes and a couple of controversial moments recently. Do you think there's ever a danger of one personality becoming maybe bigger than the sport?
I do not, I do not aim to be bigger than chess, of course. I do think though that I do have the ability to sort of speak up when I think that something is is not right, and I think there have been instances where I feel that maybe when it comes to specific organizations and so on, maybe they need me more than I need them, right? So chess will always be bigger than I am, but specific organizations maybe not. But for me, it's more about I you know I feel like I'm generally nice, but I will not like just willy nilly agree with things that I just believe are wrong, and that's what makes conflicts happen sometimes. That I am in a position where I can afford to be sometimes less agreeable.
Okay, I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, I am back and you are watching the Zenchess chess stream. I'm gonna queue up for another rapid game. Last game was a draw. Let's look at that real quick. It's like I was completely lost. And just Just came back in the end. It's actually winning for a second. But it turns out I had rook c1 here. Oh, that would have been crushing. Look at this opening. Nobody played bishop c4. Kind of like a poor man's c3 Sicilian. Although I guess the c pawn could go to c4 potentially. Test one too. Test 1, 2, 3 is audio coming through. Test 1, 2, 3. Not getting any audio on my video. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Not getting any audio on my video. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, queued up for a rapid game. We have a game against Dr. Badger, who is rated 2158, and I am rated 2158, so it's perfectly matched. Play the open Sicilian. So I play this Queen F3 system. This is a modern system. One of the main line goes think like knight f6 castle, queenside, knight e5 or something like that. Play d6. That allows me to play queen g3, and now he can develop his bishop. So my plan is bishop e2, maybe f4, maybe h4. Yeah, bishop e2, f4, maybe f5. See it. So I think he wants to play b5, b4. Trade on d4. Mate on c2. If I play f4, b5, knight takes, queen takes. I guess I could play bishop d3. That protects c2. That's a normal Sicilian move. That might be better than bishop e2. So I could substitute f4 for bishop e2. Also think of f5. So if I play f5 and he plays e5, I have knight d5. I think that trade helped me. My bishop is now attacking g7. He can't play e5. If he could play e5, might not be so bad. Not sure what he's gonna play now though. 6. Starting 94, so I probably have to play bishop d3 here. Bishop d3 might come with a threat of e5, I guess. 5. He also has a new problem. If I play bishop d3, he can't play g6 anymore because I can take his knight. He probably can't play bishop e7 because I can take on g7. So I have trouble developing. I think e5 would be good too. If he plays knight d5 and I take, that gives him bad double pawns. There's really no threat on the c file, I don't think. I'd say I'm doing fairly well here. Because how is he going to develop? He can't play bishop e7. Unless he wants to jettison this g6, g7 pawn. And play rook g8, but then I have queen h6. He can't take on g2 because I take on f6. So, what can he do? He'd have to move his knight again, but then I take on g7 maybe? Knight h5? I don't know. Knight h5, queen g4, knight f6. Knight h5, queen h4. And he doesn't have knight f6, he doesn't have g6. G8 doesn't work. I can just take this knight. Try d5, e5, knight e4, but he's gonna drop a pawn. Makes sense. I think I should play e5. Five. If he plays knight d5, I can take on d6, take on g7 maybe. Although I might get pinned. I could take on f6, play f5, or e5. I would drop the pawn, take, e5. I think e5. Knight h5 can't work. I don't know what he's gonna play. Knight d5, knight takes, pawn takes. This looks favorable to me because I can even open the e file. Take this pawn. Check on the e file. He'd have to take with a queen actually, otherwise he'd drop g7. Even play rook e1 first. Rook e1 first, pawn takes, rook takes, check. You have to play king d8. That would be a disaster. I could play queen h4 check. I don't know if he has anything other than that. Rook e1. Bishop e6 isn't going to work. Rook e1, pawn takes, rook takes. Bishop e7 isn't going to work. Looks pretty good. So yeah, I think I'm just threatening pawn takes pawn here, and I don't think this is going to defend because I have queen h4. f6 can't work. I have some mating threats with bishop f6. I could also just take on d5, so it's going to be pretty tough. King d8, rook d5 looks pretty good. Bishop e7, queen g7, b6, f5. b6, f5, bishop d6, pawn takes, bishop takes, bishop takes. That's a disaster. My original idea here was queen h4, f6, and then I guess just rook d5, and then I'm threatening bishop f6. Queen h4, f6. I think it's simpler to just take on d5 first. I have threats on the d file. I have both rooks on the d file. But also I think queen h4 is an unstoppable threat. Another crushing victory by Zenchess. It's made and won after he moves. Queen f8 or queen g8. Yeah. This guy's a lot higher rated. So I'm really underrated right now. I've been losing a lot of games, just not paying attention, not playing serious. Rook g1, I studied this recently, e5, and I think there were two variations. I think bishop e6 and h5. I think h5 is what I studied, so there's a variation bishop g5, bishop e6, and you try to get d5 really quickly. h3, yeah, that was the variation. So it's bishop e6, almost positive, and then d5. Okay, knight d2. Why did he play that? Is he going to c4? Does he want to play bishop c4? I think knight c6 is my most obvious move because I know that's a good move. I don't know where this f8 bishop wants to go yet. So I'll play knight c6. And castle queenside, most likely. It is interesting. If he wants to castle queenside now, he has to deal with bishop a2. Not sure I can play that, but he has to worry about it. a4. I want to play f5, but I'm worried about bishop g5, so I'm going to play bishop e7 first. I think he might be trying to attack me on the queen side, I'm not sure. Plays c4, I can always drop back to e6. If he plays b4, I'm not sure. But I guess I just leave this tension here. I can always recapture with the rook, doubling rooks. So I'll play f5 now, I guess. g5. 5 looks good. I guess if he lets me, I'll play g5, maybe h4, maybe f4, e4. I do have a kingside majority. G5 would be nice. F4, E4. Maybe bishop F6. I don't think I'm in any danger. I guess he could play bishop E6, but I have rook D7. I can challenge that bishop. Or just let it sit there, I guess. Let's play knight C4. I think I just need to step out of the check. Just king B8, I guess. Safe enough. If he plays knight B6, I can play rook D3. My real goal here is to double rooks, but also G5. I want to play G5 really bad. I want to get this majority rolling. First thing that's going to do if I play F4 is it's going to kick his bishop back. He's playing F4. I feel like I shouldn't take that because it opens up his bishop. I should push past. He stopped G5. Although maybe not permanently. I can play h4, rook g8, g5. I have rook d3 in some variations. Double rooks now, but I think he's just gonna challenge the file, trade off. So maybe I should play h4 first, just to lock down the pawns. And then if he plays rook d1, play rook d8. I'm gonna go ahead and play h4. I think he's heavily discouraged from playing g3 here, just opening up the h file for my rook. I have bishop f6 if I need it. So f4 is weak, g2 is weak. There's no real route to g2. I could try attacking f4. I could go knight d8 to e6. Bishop to c7 or something like that. It's probably time to centralize the king. Maybe just king c7. Or I could play b5. I don't think he wants to play knight e5 because I'll take g5. That pawn will be isolated. So b5 maybe, knight b6, king c7. Maybe b5, but not sure about it. We'll go ahead and play king c7 with the idea of centralizing my king. We'll have a passed pawn, but I guess my main goal here is to attack this f4 pawn. I think I play king d7, bishop d8, bishop c7, knight to e6. When that's done, if his knight isn't on e2, I think he's going to have a problem, but I'm not sure he's going to be okay either way. Maybe also with the bishop on c7, I can play g5 and then pawn takes and then f4. But I need to pick up this pawn. So I guess my plan is just king d7, king e6. b5, maybe? I don't know. Played a5, so he solidified b6. He's gonna have to play b4 to support that. Now he doesn't have knight a5. So not sure he can do too much damage on b6. Knight b6 maybe is a good square, but what's the follow-up? I want to remaneuver this bishop to c7, and then maybe play g5, but at least 98 to e6. Alternatively, I could play bishop d6 right now and just give up the bishop, but I'm not sure I want to do that. So I'll get this bishop on c7, maybe drop it back to b8 so he can't trade it. And then I'll play knight e6 and profit, hopefully. I can even think of g5 now. Especially if my king is on e6 and I can play f4 and then king f5 and pick up this g pawn. Then I'd have these pawns rolling. I go for that. I'm gonna play king e6 and go for g5. I didn't realize that he could take on h4. Although I do have this e pawn rolling. I can't get it all the way home. Maybe I can play knight e7, the g6, and then pick up the g5 pawn. Maybe even knight e5. I don't know. Knight e5 takes. Bishop e1 takes. I'm gonna go ahead and play knight e7 with the idea of knight g6 or knight d5. I think knight d5 might be even better. I don't know. My bishop's putting in work though, protecting b6, protecting this entire diagonal. Stopping knight d6, that's important. Just not sure how to play this, so I take this g pawn. My king can't really get in. Knight d4, huh? Really asking for it. 3. I even have knight d5 now. He'd have to defend with a king. c4, knight e3, I'm attacking g2. He has no defense to that. I think knight d5. But he could play g6, and then I would have to stop that pawn. I could play knight d5, g6, bishop e5, I guess. I think it's looking good. Knight d5, he doesn't have bishop e1 anymore. If he plays c4, I'll play knight e3. If he plays g3, I'll play f3. Plays g6, I'll play bishop e5. And you could try pushing on the king side, but I don't have to take. Otherwise, I'm threatening knight c3. If I do win this game, it'll boost my rating a bit. Probably like 12 points or something. I don't know, 8, 9 points. Yeah, g4 there. I didn't want to say anything, but g4 and I have to move my king. If I take en passant, oh, I could take en passant. Never mind. Or I can take on c3 with check. Blockade this pawn. Hopefully his knight can't actually get in there. Take the pawn though. kind of gambling that I'll be able to queen these pawns before he does. So I can queen pretty fast, but he can queen this A pawn pretty fast too. Like king e5, knight c4. I drop this knight back with knight d5. Stop the pawn with knight b6, but meanwhile he's got to stop e3, f3, f2. If he's not careful, I could just queen. Now he's pushing b5, so if I play king d6, b6, king c6, maybe that can stop the pawns. So he's threatening a6. A6, king c8, bishop c7? I don't know. If I play bishop e5, I'm worried about getting hit by knight c6 check. I'm not sure if I can just play f3 though. f3, a6, king c8, b7, b8, knight c6. That looks dangerous. a6, king c8, b7. Yeah, it's a problem. Need bishop e5. I don't know if this is gonna work, but oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I'm dead lost now. All right, good game, man. All right, and this has been the Zenchess Chess Show. Thank you to the 3 viewers who are watching, and everyone have a nice day. Peace out.